We gon' run it. Hit the field, blast off. Watch a mom fall. This is AFC North Talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Ay, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North Talk. Let's go. Ay, AFC North Talk.
Welcome to another edition of AFC North Talk. By the way, Steelers only winners. Never good. That's never good. I know Jared's happy, but for the rest of us, it's not good. Let's get it started real quick here. Let's talk about the Browns game. That was last night. Also, Q's not here, as you can see, but he put a video of his. He had previous thing going on, so he put a video of all his thoughts. Go check it out. That game, I thought about you so much, Jared. Like, I'm watching this game, I'm like, Jared must be loving, hating. And then the press conference where he said, "What was it? I need to pray for Jesus not to give me pick six," something like that line, right?
So
I was thinking, I mean, everything that was happening. Jameis Winston actually had a good game, minus the pick six. If you take the pick six out, he had a good game.
Minus the pick sixes.
Yeah.
He had multiple. It was the most Jameis game ever because he threw for 497, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, 2 of which were returned for touchdowns. Like, it was just Warren Sharp had a really good tweet. It was like, when my son asked me how good Jameis Winston was, I just like tear up, and it's like watching 1,000 fireworks misfire at once, and it made me laugh really, really hard. So yeah, it was the ultimate Jameis game, but it was fun. Like, quietly, like one of the most fun games of the year because him and Bo Nix just went tick for tack all night, and it was very fun to watch. Yeah, this felt like an old school, like mid-90s gunslingers showdown. It was a lot of fun to watch, man. It was a great.
You ready to count him?
I had a great time. What's up?
You ready to count Bo?
Yeah, like, I don't know how good Bo's gonna be, but he's already better than I thought he was gonna be. So yeah, salute to him. Like, he played his ass off. Like, the box score won't show it. He went 18 of 35, but I'm not gonna bitch and moan about his completion percentage when he was like throwing YOLO balls on night, doing something that was like a big like setback for me going into the draft because I didn't think he had the arm to do that. So I'm not gonna slight him for like a box score for, completion percentage that might not look great when he was chucking the ball downfield all game. It was very fun to watch. He played great. Jameis did a lot of fun stuff. It was a good game. I enjoyed myself.
Did you put any money on Jameis? Are you ever gonna put any
real quick ace? Because god damn it, I was upset. So I bet Javonte Williams and David Njoku touchdowns. They score the first 2 touchdowns. I'm feeling great. But I also bet the over for both Nick Chubb and Javonte Williams rushing yards, and that did not happen. So I was feeling great because the 2 dudes I needed to score scored, and then no teams decided. Well, I shouldn't say that. McLaughlin ran. I think that's how you pronounce the Broncos running back's name. They used like 8 of them, but he had a great game. He ran for I think 80 some yards. Over the past 2 games, Javonte Williams has 12 carries for 1 yard. So not ever betting that again. So that was upsetting.
It was an interesting game. Judy went off, right? Great revenge game for real.
Judy went off. I said it before the game. Jerry Judy revenge game. This was 200 yards, bro. Like,
they couldn't cover him. And this is the problem that I have with Mr. Surtain. People gonna hate because I like Surtain, but I don't like it. Like, people put him like he is the best corner in the league.
Well, it wasn't Pat Surtain too much. It was Levi Wallace that was on him most of the night.
I understand, but if your game is tight, I expect my corner to, especially if you consider yourself the number 1 corner, the top of the league. Of all the Browns, there's one guy killing you. It's not like all the Browns are eating. There's one guy. The other ones are hitting here and there. One guy is destroying you. If you're that guy, I expect you as a corner to go pick him up, to say to coach, you know what? I have that guy. I'm going to cover him. I'm going to basically neutralize that guy. Sertan doesn't do that. Sertan likes to stay in his. Sertan reminds me. You know who he reminds me of? Sherman. Sherman used to do this shit. Sherman would be like, "Oh, the left side is mine." If their top receiver wants to be on the right side, well, what do you want me to do? I'm in my left side. If he comes here, I'll cover him. No, you go move your ass to the right side. You follow this guy. Anyway, that's beyond the point. The Browns also, one thing that has happened a lot this year, they keep getting blown coverage, right? They had a couple of bad blown coverage. That 90 whatever, I forgot, 93,
93 to Mims, yeah.
yeah, like that has happened too much this year, and I know the Browns have had injuries, but not to the D linemen, right? And this game has they did produce some pressures, and really not much to their secondary. Like Ward was there, the nickel guy was there. I'm blanking his name right now.
I mean, Newsome played really well. Denzel Ward had a really nice game where he punched the ball away that Newsome caught, and then Denzel Ward had an interception himself. So, the defensive backs made some.
I'm not saying they didn't play well, but the blown coverage happened, in my opinion, too much for a group that is not new to each other, right? This is not a group that is. Well, we're good. We're all good, but we haven't played to each other, right? There's a truth to that. Communication, feeling each other. This group has been together for at least 3 years, maybe 4. I think Musing is in year 3. So it's not that they're new to each other, and I feel like the blown coverage for them happens too often for a bad defensive group. Is what I'm thinking. But anyway, I think it's hard because if you take the 2 pick sixes, obviously the game could flow different ways. But man, I mean, you could potentially win that game in Denver. Not an easy place to win. On the road in Denver, if you take those 2 pick sixes, you're there. You either win or lose in a tight one. So the one thing I will say for the Browns is the Browns are fighting for their coach. They're not quitting on their coach. They seem to have fight still in them. Yeah, Jameis, and you know what? For all the things that Jared will hate about Jameis Winston,
and there are a lot of them,
and all the corniness, I think that the team rallies on him. They probably hate the whole 2 pick sixes, but they still rally behind him.
I don't know what they're going to do with because I think he's only on a 1-year deal, isn't he?
Yep.
So I don't know what they're going to do with that situation. If it's going to be another thing like Flacco where they just let him go because they know he's too good. And the second that Watson takes the field next year for the first time, there's just going to be boos raining down. So I don't know what they're going to do there. For his sake and for like the sake of Browns fans, I hope that he sticks around because he has, given them a lot more than Watson did, which isn't saying much, and I get that, but it was, like I said, that was like the most Jameis game ever, where it's just a boatload of yards, some touchdowns, but he's also it's a double-edged sword, and but regardless, like he's given them such a spark, and for their sake, I hope that Jimmy Haslam and everybody in the front office just swallow it and don't try this whole Watson thing again. Although it's been reported that like they're gonna bring in competition for Deshaun Watson, which is like, all right, bro, like come on, just rip the Band-Aid off. What are we doing here? So we'll see. I don't know if Jameis is that guy to be like an entire season long answer, just because Q's talked about this on the show before, like where it's like, okay, for like a little few month stretch, Jameis is fun. You don't want. Do you really want an entire season of Jameis Winston? Don't think you do, because we've seen that movie before. So we'll see. Hopefully,
I have a dark horse for them for next year. I think they will pursue. That's what I'm thinking, because the guy's not gonna cost you a lot, and they cannot spend too much on. I mean, other than draft pick, they cannot spend a lot on a quarterback since they already had all that money tied in Watson. Danny Dimes.
Maybe.
That would be disgusting for them. If I were them, I would throw up.
I'll be like,
Danny Dimes is going to fix it next year. That would be horrible.
No, that's the competition. Could be Watson still. Watson can beat him up.
Deshaun Watson will make Daniel Jones look like president of the United States compared to what Deshaun Watson would put on the field. I mean, I'd be for it just because I know, A, Daniel Jones is good and the Browns wouldn't be any sort of a threat. And, you know,
we'd be for it.
Yeah, I'd be very for it. I'd be very for it.
Endorse it.
Yeah.
Ace, what do you thought about this game?
Yeah, man, I think when it comes down to this one, I think Jameis, even though he had the pick sixes, had 3 total interceptions, Browns were still in this game. At one point, 4 minutes or 2 minutes and 55 seconds left, they were actually up 32-31. Obviously, those picks mattered, but that's the Jameis Winston experience. Like, he's a 30 for 30 guy. It's not a shock to me that he threw 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. I mean, that's been Jameis Winston his entire career. He's liked to play hero ball. He's liked to force things sometimes when they aren't there. And I thought that for the early stretch of his start and tenure with the Browns, we didn't see that, right? So you knew it was coming. It was like, it's inevitable. It's like Thanos is going to show up and say, I'm inevitable with this one. And that's what we got from Jameis Winston. My issue, though, is also with the Browns defense. I mean, this was a Browns defense that came in, I think, going off of last year and this year, you could argue that they were the best defense in the North, one of the top defenses in the NFL. And this was a unit that, even if you take the pick sixes out, gave up 27 in this game. And like you kind of said earlier, Sonny, a lot of blown coverages, a lot of issues there. I don't know what Miles's pressures were in this game, but following up the performance to the Steelers, talking all that trash, I'm expecting you to come out here and follow up that performance with another great performance, at least getting 1 sack here. And that's not to take shots at Miles or anything. That's just what I expected, because it's like when you go out there and say something like that, I'm expecting what TJ Watt did to Cincinnati to happen in your game after that, for you to separate yourself from TJ Watt after making a statement like that. And I just feel like the Browns defense just wasn't here to measure up. The Browns offense was on fire. Jerry Jeudy was out there doing his thing. Njoku, it looks like they are actually wanting to play for Jameis Winston. As many interceptions as he's thrown, he's been a leader. He's been a guy that can inspire a team that's a 3-win team to get up and fight for something at this point in the season, when most teams will just lay over and die and just say, hey, this is over. It is what it is. So I think it was impressive that the Browns were able to make this a competitive game. I think for Denver, you got some questions on their defense as well, because coming into this game, we thought that they were a really good defense. They came in ranked 3rd in points allowed, third in total yards allowed per game, and then also number 1 in yards per play. So, they were coming into this one looking good, and the Browns tore them to pieces in this one. So I think if you're a Denver fan, you're happy to get the win. You're happy to see Bo Nix be able to pull a game like this out. But, if they were able to exploit your defense just like that, that's something that, if you're a team like Denver, you're looking down the line and say, okay, is this an outlier game, or is this what our defense is? Have they found something on this defense for other teams to exploit? I think outside of that, though, I think it's something that shows the Browns that they have some fight here. Obviously, when you're 3-9 and you got 4 wins like the Bengals, you don't really look at these games as, hey, we need these wins. You kind of just want to see what's there, what's on the roster. Is Jerome Ford better than Nick Chubb? Does Nick Chubb still have it? I think Nick Chubb, this was another game that he struggled in, but obviously he's coming off of a knee injury. So, this is the evaluation time that we talk about when it comes to rosters at this point. And you have to evaluate, like you guys are saying, is Jameis Winston a guy that you can bring back next year? Does the offense look better with him? Does he highlight things in this offense that you're able to see? I think you feel good about Jerry Jeudy after you moved on from Amari Cooper. You feel like he's a guy. You also needed to see if Elijah Moore was a guy, because he hadn't done much since the trade there. This was a game where he was able to do some stuff too. So you have to feel at least somewhat better about some of these options and trades that you made, because this will be a Browns team that, let's face it, is probably going to look very different come this offseason. So this is the time for you to figure out which guys need to stick, which guys need to go. I think that that's a good evaluation of the team at this point. But for them to put up 32 points in Denver on the road, I'm not here to take like little like wins, small wins and stuff like that. But I didn't see this game going like this. I thought that this was going to be a slugfest. I thought, especially with the weather and everything, that these are be 2 defenses kind of duking it out. and this turned into a shootout. So, very exciting game to watch. I don't think going into this one, I thought it was going to be this exciting, but I think they made it an exciting game. And the Jameis Winston experience is crazy. Like Jared said, the next gen stat says that he is the first player in the Super Bowl era to have a 400 plus passing yard game, 4 touchdowns, and multiple pick sixes in a single game. So we witnessed history last night, and we witnessed the Jameis Winston experience. That's what it is. So you got to decide if that's something that you're willing to put up with in the future. But you guys already know I'm here for the press conferences, bro. I'm here for the Jameis press conferences.
The best.
And the prayer to protect him from pick sixes is gonna be like that is gonna live in my head. Anytime he throws a pick six, that meme is coming up with video of please protect me from pick sixes.
He's one of one. He is one of one.
I'm so over it.
I'll tell you what, Jared. It's just take the over on any of the pass. It was like something. It was like a dummy play. It was like 225 or something like that for Jameis. Like with Jameis, you know that he's going to air it out, and you know he's going to get 300 to 400 yards. So just bet on that, bro. Just bet on that. Bet on the Jameis.
No. Ace, remember the Steelers play the Browns right this week.
Oh, he's gonna be able to get his revenge back. We'll see.
The poetic man. Oh, you will hear all the quotes this
week.
Jared
just was in a lose-lose situation with this one. It's either he was gonna have to deal with the Bo Nix people or the Jameis apologists. So
that's fine. I've accepted the Bo Nix people. That's fine. I can, especially after like the last month he's had, I was like, oh yeah, he's certainly better than I thought he was gonna be. All right, yeah, y'all can have that one. That's fine. Yeah, I can put my hand and be like, all right. I talked a lot of shit on him coming into the year, and he's played well, so good for him. The Jameis stuff, man. Like I'm just for me, it's like that meme where it's like the dude facing the entire like a big crowd of people just holding the sign that says yes. Yeah, that's what it is. It's just like, all right, I know I'm like the only person who finds this corny and irritating, but you're all wrong.
I would pay to be a fly on the wall when they showed Jameis where he was like doing like the thing where they show like the 2 quarterbacks and Jameis is like. I would pay to be a fly on the wall and hear what Jared said when he saw that.
So the person behind the camera is like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like,
we need to have. Well, you know what? If he does any public speaking thing, Jerry, you need to go.
I'm not going.
Public speaking event.
I'm certainly.
Okay, we have a couple super chats here. The 188 says, "I know Q clutches his pearls at this, but too bad." Ace, that Bungles D is soft. Oprah Winfrey D.
Everybody, yes, bro. Oh, we'll definitely get into it. Get into it, but yeah.
And then we have here our guy Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Is Russell Wilson the best QB in the AFC North? People are asking. Okay, you know what? Let's transition to that since we had those 2 super chats. We were gonna leave it to the end, but we can transition to that. This is a game that, at least for me, at the beginning I was following because I didn't have him on TV, so I was following the game, and then I went back and watched. The fact that the Bengals starts with a pick six, I'm like GG. As soon as I saw that pick six, the offense needs to cook now. If they cook, they're good. Nah, that pressure. By the way, Ace, how much you miss Orlando Brown Jr.? That left side was open for business. This is another game that I don't know what to say about the offense, right? Like, I feel like the offense should have been doing more. It's a good Steelers defense, so don't get me wrong. Good Steelers defense. But again, that's your strong suit, right? Your offense is your strength. It's easy to blame the defense, right? But the Bengals definitely had invest more on the offense in the past couple of years, especially in money-wise. Orlando Brown Jr. looks to be as important as maybe not Chase, but maybe T. Higgins, right? Definitely as important as a guy like T. Higgins. Herbig, our Garrett's guy, man, he had a good game. He had a great game, man. So Ace, I want you to start with this because obviously this is a game that we talk about the importance that the Bengals needed this game. That if they lose, is basically it. I know it's not official because if Denver collapses,
Oh, it's
right?
it's official. We don't have to like put kid gloves on it and
Yeah.
say that pretend like this Bengals team. I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, the Bengals, I didn't really see it. I always felt like they were gonna lose to the Steelers at least one of the games, like, and this was the one that you couldn't lose. In regards to Orlando Brown Jr., he's coming off of a knee injury, so like he's playing hurt. Before that, he was playing well. It's
Mhm.
clear that that knee injury is bothering him and he can't move. That's something to keep an eye on. I actually was talking to Willie Anderson about that, and he was saying like that's something to look at because hopefully it's not like a long-term injury or something like that because he just didn't look like himself at all. When it came to the pick six, when I saw the pick six happen, I was not super confident in the Bengals defense. I know that that sounds crazy, but it's like to me, if the Bengals would have came out and scored first, then got the pick six, sure, then I would have been like, okay, we've got an advantage. But the fact that they came out, punted, did not put any points up on the board, and then had a pick six and had to be back out there, I knew that they weren't going to be able to stop this team. Now, did I know Russell Wilson was going to come in and throw for 400 yards? Hell no. But I knew that George Pickens was going to be a problem in this game. I knew that there were going to be certain aspects from the Steelers offense that were going to be problems in this game because we're no longer talking about Kenny Pickett. And I know for the last couple of weeks, the Steelers have struggled somewhat, but they've still looked far better on offense, in my opinion, this season than they ever have with Kenny Pickett in the last couple of years. They are a team that can score 30 points. So in this one, man, when it came down to it, you've seen a lot of what you've seen from the Bengals defense, I think, this season. Lots of missed tackles, lots of miscommunications, lots of explosive plays given up. And this isn't a Steelers team that's super explosive. They don't really have the explosive plays like the top teams in the league, like the Ravens, but they do have that potential having some of those guys over there like George Pickens. I think that that's their most explosive player when it comes down to it. At the end of the day, I think it's a mix of a lot of people are like, is it the personnel? Is it the coaching? I think it's a combination on both. I think it's clear that you can point to the coaching when you look at the play that the game was won on. Justin Fields is in the game and you don't have a quarterback spying him at all. It's like, hey, did you watch the game last week against the Browns? Might want to turn that film on to figure it out. And honestly, a lot of the deficiencies with the defense are things that we've seen. Sam Hubbard was glued to the tackle the entire game. I don't know what Lou is thinking putting him out there because everybody knows Sam Hubbard is not an edge rusher. For some reason, they refuse to play Myles Murphy, even though whenever he gets in, he's able to get pressure. All Pittsburgh had to do, and all anybody needs to do, is, hey, let's just roll everybody to the only pass rusher that you have, which is Trey Hendrickson. And I think Trey put up a good fight, but there's only so much that he can do when he's getting chipped, when he's getting double teamed and protection is sliding to him because you literally don't have anybody else in terms of pass rush. That was very clear. Like, and I will give credit to Russell Wilson as well. He did a good job of getting rid of the ball. He knew that as soon as he had the ball for a while, he needed to get it out of there. He was able to do that. Now, I don't want to just blame the defense. The defense is historically bad. They gave up 500 yards in this one. They gave up 44 points. I don't want to take anything away from the blame on the offense. The thing that I will blame on the offense is, even though some of these things are not in your control, Joe Burrow, this is not a game that you can turn the ball over 3 times. I get it. Some people are going to say he can't block for himself. He can't do this and that. At the end of the day, and I couldn't believe this on Twitter because all I was saying was, hey, Joe, you can't fumble there. I wasn't even really blaming him. I was just like, that's not a good turnover because you know how bad this defense is. Yep. And everybody's coming at me like, so you're blaming Joe? It's like, bro, at the end of the day, this is not a team that can turn the ball over and expect to win against teams that can score the ball because your defense, not only are they giving it up, they're giving it up quick, bro. They are giving it up quick. Like, these drives are like 3, 4, 5. They're not even taking that long off of the clock to allow these other teams to score. So from an offensive standpoint, yes, Joe Burrow, you have to be aware that TJ Watt is a guy that's going to try to strip sack you. You know that. Now, what he can do, I don't know. I'm not a football player, but at the end of the day, everybody knows you can't turn the ball over and expect to win a football game. when it comes to running the ball, like that's been another issue with Zach Taylor. He refuses to commit to the run. I thought Chase Brown was pretty good in this one. Khalil Herbert comes in and gets a 14-yard run, and then we don't see him the rest of the game. It's like a lot of the same things that we've seen from them, especially in this one on the defensive side. The personnel usage was extremely head-scratching. We know that Von Bell is washed by now. We know that some of these guys that are missing tackles, Geno Stone should not be on the field, and I don't know why they just keep throwing him out there. He is not good in coverage. We understand he's not a good tackler, right? But he's not even good in coverage. He's blowing stuff in coverage. He's not being that guy that he was in Baltimore in terms of being that ball hawk or anything like that, and they continue to put him out there. Offensively, I do like what they did from a personnel standpoint, but it's too little too late. They're finally getting Mike Gesicki involved, and we're sitting here on week 13 where the guy just had a 100-yard game 2 weeks ago, and then the next 2 games after that, you gave him like a target or two. It's too little too late for them to go after Chase and some of these guys. Like some of the targeting of Chase was questionable in this one. They targeted him, then there was a while where they didn't go to him. And at the end of the day, you have to go down swinging with your guys. I don't think that they played bad on offense, though. I think they did know who their best players was. They went to Chase Brown, they went to Jamar Chase, they went to T. Higgins, they went to Gesicki. It just wasn't enough. The offensive line at this point, I applaud them for trying to go into a different direction with picking somebody else other than Cordell Volson. I don't know if it's Cody Ford, though. I don't know if your answer is Cody Ford versus Cam Hayward. I don't know what you were thinking there in terms of making that switch then and there. And I don't know if Cody Ford is the guy that's going to be able to do it. For me, this is just a bad football team. I hear a lot of people make a lot of excuses for them and say, hey, this is historic because the offense is scoring this many points against the number 1 defense and we're still losing. Yeah, we're still losing because the offense is still turning the ball over. The offense still isn't closing out games. They know that the defense isn't anything. That's not new. Like, that your defense is a liability. And I don't know if you've seen the meme going around on Twitter, but there's that video of that guy and he's like, hey, Joe, I'm your defense. And it's like somebody scoring on him every single play. Your kicker isn't good. So, unfortunately, it's all on Joe Burrow. Is that fair? I don't know if it's fair, but it's what the situation is right now. And unfortunately, he's playing at a high level, but I cannot look away from him having 3 turnovers yesterday. I'm not saying that he's to blame more than the defense, but it's something that you have to bring up. But that's how the Bengals have been built. They got rid of certain players on defense that were key. They thought that they were able to replace them in the draft. They weren't able to do that. They weren't able to acknowledge that their coaching staff isn't as good as it really is. A lot of players made them look better than they really are. Now they're being exposed from it. Lou got a lot of praise for shutting down Pat Mahomes, but when you really evaluate and look at Lou's defense, it's not really that good. Like it did good against Pat Mahomes. Congratulations. Pat Mahomes is always in 1-score games against everybody, it seems like these days. So how does that really say that Lou is some kind of genius? He's not. And we've seen that this season. We've seen the issues with Zach Taylor. I'm not going to go at Zach Taylor too much in this one because I don't think that he made any boneheaded decisions that really come to mind, especially on offense. I do think that sometimes he trusts the defense way more than he should. Sometimes I feel like he should go for it on 4th down. Not too much of that in this one. But the discrepancies that Joe has to play with are still there, and that's the issue. They're not changing. He's still getting hit 10-plus times and sacked multiple times. That's still a part of it. The Bengals don't have an offense. The Bengals offense is run Zach Taylor's play, it breaks down and nobody's open, and then somebody just runs and gets open for a 1st down. That cannot be your offense. That cannot be it going forward. And at the end of the day, the team is built how this team decided to build it. When they took away from the defense, when they committed to Evan McPherson and it backfired in their face, when they committed to Zach Taylor and his staff over some of the players and thought that they could replace him, that's on them. It's not a good football team. I'm not surprised that the Steelers beat them at whatsoever. I'm not surprised that they dropped 40 points on them. I mean, they've been giving up 30 in multiple games. It's a bad defense. Like, it is what it is. And you have to understand that it's a bad defense. And they still don't understand it because Lou is still my defensive coordinator as we're recording this after he just gave up 40 points. So it is what it is, man. I think at this point, the Bengals know the playoffs are dead. I think, like Joe Burrow said, this time now is determining, very similar to the Cleveland Browns, who's going to be there next season. And it's a shame because this team is on paper better than that. They've shown at some points that they're better than that, but they're not consistent. And in order to be one of these top teams and in order to compete in this division, you have to be consistent. And nobody cares about, like, I still hear people talking about AFC Championship, Super Bowl. That time is done, bro. They have shut their own window right now, the way it looks, and it doesn't look like they're a team that's going to be easily fixed just in a season. That's just my personal opinion. I don't see one offseason fixing this defense, fixing the deficiencies of this team. And if they don't have a situation, I actually kind of want them to continue to lose, because there is no way you could sell me on Zach Taylor and his staff should be back next season whatsoever. So kudos to the Steelers. I don't want to take anything away from them and just rant about the Bengals and complain. The Steelers came out. You got to give them credit. They punched the Bengals in the mouth. They didn't let up. They stayed in this game. They matched what the Bengals like to do, which is get you into a shootout, right? Even though they had some lapses on defense themselves, they were able to respond. They played with poise and confidence. And Najee Harris, I probably shouldn't have called him pure water last week, because clearly he heard that with some of those angry runs that he made this week. But, the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have to tip your cap to them. I believed in the Steelers early on in the season. I'm not saying that no one else did, but this team clearly is rallying behind Mike Tomlin. They clearly have fixed their quarterback issues, and they clearly are starting to put it together as a team. And I think you just have to tip your cap to them and just admit that they're going to be a force to reckon with in the AFC this year. So that was a huge win for them, especially a divisional win. Especially, we talked about coming out of that bye. This is the meat and the potatoes of the schedule where we're going to see who they are. They have continued to prove, with just a hiccup in a snowstorm, I'm not holding it against them, that they are one of those teams that's going to be their come playoff team, and they're going to be a force to reckon with. So shout out to them. They did their thing. Bengals have problems. It is what it is.
Yeah. Once the pick six happened, like I saw a lot of like Steelers fans being upset about, it's clear pass interference. Watching about like George tripped. If you want to say, it could have been like illegal contact to the head, whatever. Once that happened, because I came into this game saying, all right, I think the Bengals are probably going to win this first matchup. And once that happened, I was like, well, there it is. All right, that's okay. 8-4, you can still battle back. And then Russell Wilson, bro, just went scorched earth. I've refrained from saying vintage Russell Wilson this season just because I think that was a little bit far-fetched, like to think that he could just turn back the clock and play like 2020 Russell Wilson. On Sunday, he did. 414 yards, second most in his career, most for a Steelers quarterback since 2018. The Steelers scored their most points since 2018. Like, it was just like a precedent-setting day for the offense, which is really cool to see. Najee had a big game. He had 130 yards from scrimmage and 75 yards on the ground and 54 receiving. So he did incredible stuff. It felt like the first couple of drives, the Bengals were just sitting in a very soft, like just leaving the underneath wide open. And the Steelers were just like, if you're going to give it to us, we're just going to take it. And so Russ was just dump off to Jalen Warren, dump off to Najee Harris, get a bunch of yards after the catch. I believe it was reported that it was the most yards after catch that Russ has ever had in his career. Like, he was just like, bro, I will, if you're going to give that to me, then yeah, we're going to take it and just get first down after first down and go down, get on the field easily. Answer with the screen pass to Pickens that goes for a touchdown. As awesome as George is, it was like the vintage George Pickens game where he makes as many boneheaded decisions as he does great plays, where he drops a ball on Jermaine Pratt's head, cost him 15. Does the whole gun celebration thing, cost him another 15.
I thought that was soft, though. I thought that one was soft.
But like at the same time, you got to know you're George Pickens. The league is going to be looking at you and hardcore specifically, and they've cracked down on gun celebrations this year. Like, you got to be aware of that. So we can say it's dumb all we want, and I agree with that, but it is what it is, and he's got to be smarter. And Tomlin even said that after the game. He's like, yeah, George has got to grow up a little bit. But it feels like we've been saying that forever. And as long as he produces, that's just going to be something that you can deal with. But yeah, 10 different Steelers caught a pass in this game, and Mike Williams wasn't one of them. That was kind of surprising. Like, who all caught passes? We got Michael Pruitt caught 2 passes. Ben Skoranek, exciting whites. Good job, Ben Skoranek. Pat Fryermuth had a huge game, by the way, 6 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Pickens had a touchdown. And Calvin Austin, who keeps showing up week after week, had another touchdown. So he's becoming a vital part of the offense. Offensively, man, like I was incredibly pleased. The fact that, like I said, they had to, in the lead up for this and doing my write-ups and everything for Keys to Victory that I do every week for Behind the Steel Curtain, go and read those every week. All three of mine, one of them was got to be prepared for a shootout because you know that this Bengals offense can put up points with the best of them. You got to be able to answer. And I didn't think they were going to be able to do it just because, yeah, we saw it against Washington, but I fear the Bengals offense more than I fear, the Commanders offense. And they did it even better than what they did against Washington. So I was incredibly pleased to see Russ play as well as he did. I'm trying to make sure I don't forget about anybody. Oh yeah, the defense, man. TJ Watt had a bad game against Cleveland, answers it with 2 sacks. One of them's a strip sack recovered by Preston Smith. Nick Herbig has his 3rd consecutive game with a forced fumble, his 2nd straight game with a strip sack. Peyton Wilson recovers the strip sack and returns it for a touchdown. That was kind of the nail in the coffin because it put the Steelers up 17. I know that Cincinnati battled back and made it a 1-score game, but once the Steelers recovered the onside kick and once Fields ran for the first down, that was pretty much wraps there. So overall, defensively, there was some warts that need cleared out. Joey Porter had 6 penalties, 4 of them that were accepted. Tomlin was asked about that today, and the answer he gave was so Tomlin. Reference going up against big physical elite receivers. He was like, yeah, if you're playing Shaq, I'm going to use my fouls. I was like, all right, well, it's a little bit of a difference when Shaq is shooting from the free throw line and giving up 20 yards downfield because Joey Porter's getting handsy with T. Higgins. So you got to be.
Isn't that what I said? Isn't that what I said that Joey likes to do? It all depends on the fishing crew. Yeah,
he's always been even going back to his Penn State days, he's always been known as a guy who's a little bit more grabby than the average corner, and sometimes.
Now, the one thing that will be a saving grace for him is in the playoffs they do allow that a little bit more, right? So that's good for him.
It's just irritating because, especially the one on Yoshivas in the end zone, bro, you didn't need to. The ball was uncatchable. There's no reason for you. If you just looked for the ball, you could tell, all right, I don't need to tackle Andre Yoshivas here, and it'll be an incomplete pass. And then Chase scores a touchdown a few plays later. So they went back and forth throughout the first half. It was 27-21 at the end of the first half. That was the highest scoring first half in the history of Bengals Steelers. So that was kind of cool. And then, once the Steelers defense just made more splash plays than Cincinnati's. And that's really what it came down to. Yeah, both offenses were awesome. But when you have 3 takeaways, when you got Cam Hayward, by the way, Cam Hayward is having legitimately, you can make the case the best year of his career in year 14. He leads the NFL in pass deflections. He's on pace to tie his career high in sacks with 12. He's on pace for the 4th most tackles in a season in his career. He is having a damn good year. Which is good because the fact that they have such a good mixture of proven elite veterans and a young core of guys that are rising up in the ranks and showing that they are legitimately the future of the defense, all playing at the same time. It's really cool to see. I feel in 10 years I'm going to look back and be oh yeah, I forgot that Nick Herbig played with Cam Hayward. That's pretty cool. But he's emerging as a legitimate superstar off the edge. They get Highsmith back this week as well, so that'll be good for their run defense. I think that they're going to try to start using 3 of those guys on the field at the same time, just because at this point you can't make a case for keeping Nick Herbig off the field just because he's that much of a difference maker. So if they can get Watt, Highsmith, and Herbig on the field at the same time, that would be great. And work Preston Smith in there as well because he's found a nice role for himself on the team. Dante Jackson has 5 interceptions now this year. So that Deontay Johnson trade, especially now that it looks like he's going to get cut by Baltimore, looks pretty good. So overall, man, defensively, there were some things that need worked out. But if you want to be considered a truly great team, you have to be able to win in more than one way. And over the past handful of years, they've only been able to win one way. And that was, all right, if we hold this team to less than 20, we're going to have a shot. If they score more than 20, hold on to your asses because probably not. They are now top 10 in points per game. Build the Arthur Smith statue today for that fact alone. If you would have told me, hey, the Steelers in week 13 will be a top 10 scoring offense, I would have kissed his feet when I saw him at OTAs. Bro, you've saved us. Thank you so much. So yeah, the offense is taking off. And it's clear that like this team is so much more tight knit than the teams of years past, where it just felt like they were just kind of trudging through seasons. The offense was very much holding the defense back and the team back as a whole. But then you see videos of Tomlin waiting to go into the locker room, make sure he sees everybody. He gives Russ a big hug, kisses him on the head, slaps him on the ass, and they go in the locker room together just after like a huge win. Like you see stuff like that, and it's like, all right, like this dude loves Russell Wilson. And it seems that they kind of saved each other in a way because, the Steelers hadn't had a really good quarterback since Ben retired. And a lot of people doubted the signing going into the season. And he's done nothing this year but play his ass off. And for everybody who's saying, well, it's the Bengals defense, then, it's not all. If a certain guy in purple wearing number 8 would have thrown for 414 yards and 3 touchdowns, you wouldn't have been able to hear them talk about it because they'd be too busy gargling him the entire week. So I don't want to fucking hear, it's the Bengals defense. Bite me. He played fucking awesome. So I think that Pittsburgh right now, in terms of like the top teams in the AFC, I don't know if they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, but they can hang with anybody, and they've proven that. If you're going to go into a game where you got to score 30, I know that they can do it. If you're going to go into a game that's a rock fight, I know that they can do it. So this is as confident as I've been in a Steelers team probably since like 2018. And it's cool to feel that way again. And
but the expectations, Jared, the expectations at this point should be for the Steelers, in my opinion, should be Super Bowl. Should be because you never know every year, right? But at this point, you probably have been the most healthy that you have been in a while, right? Everybody that is important, for the most part, is healthy. You have a quarterback that right now is playing on a high level, right? You don't know, maybe next year he goes back to what he was in Denver, but right now he's playing on a high level. Defense balling out, receivers playing fairly well, Firemouth playing well, O-line balling for the most part, right? Even on the rookie side, kicker, best kicker currently in the league. It feels like right now the Steelers don't have anything to say why. Like, I cannot put an argument why they should not have Super Bowl as an aspiration. Maybe at the beginning of the year there was a lot of question marks, but at this point in Week 13, we should be competing for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that they're capable of competing for one, but I also don't think that if they don't get there, that the season is a failure just because very few people expected any of this, right? So if they get a playoff win, I think this year is a massive success. Just because, again, like so many people are like, oh, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, that's what you're going to do. Okay, good luck. And so far it's really worked. But they also haven't had a playoff win in a very long time. So if they go into the playoffs and get bounced in the first round again, I think that there's a level of failure just because, okay, you did that last year and you did it with Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, and Mitch Trubisky. So, but I do think that if they win the division, they get to host a playoff game against whomever it may be, whether it's Baltimore, the Chargers, the Broncos. They've already beaten the Chargers and the Broncos. Granted, Denver and the Chargers are different teams than what they were in the first 3 weeks of the year, and that's fine. I don't expect it to be a cakewalk, but I do think that those are games that they'll have built-in advantages just because skill-wise, I think that they're better than both of those teams. Baltimore would be a rock fight again, but they've proven that they can beat Baltimore multiple times. So I do think that if you host a playoff game, then their chances of winning in the wild card round go way up. And then, we'll see what happens in the divisional round should that be the case. You'll probably have to go north to play either Kansas City or Buffalo. So we'll see. But if they win a playoff game this year, then I'm ecstatic because that was kind of my benchmark for success going into this year is, okay, win a playoff game. I think that they can make it to the AFC Championship game and God willing, maybe get to the Super Bowl, but I'm not going to sit here and pick them to beat Baltimore and Kansas City or beat Buffalo and Kansas City on the way to the Super Bowl, like just run the table. I think that's a little bit preemptive, but they are capable of having a deep run for sure.
Okay, we have a couple super chats here. The 188 says, We can also talk about Yamar Chase basically being neutralized in this game. His impact was minimized.
Still scored a touchdown.
He had 6 catches, 86 yards, and it's not like he didn't.
Yeah,
He had a nice game.
not a touchdown. I mean, I guess that is neutralized for Jamar Chase. I mean,
Yeah, for his standards, I guess. But no, he had a solid game.
Okay, so the one here also says, Ace, you Bungle fans keep blaming Lou and the coaching.
we're not.
But
doing
outside of 91, Lou has no talent to
We're
work.
not doing this, bro. I don't want to hear the awful personnel argument. Like they have a lot of the players minus Jesse Bates, DJ Reader. Like they have something to work with. They look like the worst defense in the NFL, bro. And I don't want to just put it on personnel.
And look at like other coordinators around the league and what they have to work with. Like Vic Fangio is doing a really good job in Philadelphia with a ton of like super young guys, like Quinion Mitchell, rookie,
Yep.
Cooper is doing rookie, Zach Bond, who came out of nowhere and is playing really well. Like he's doing Vance Joseph in Denver, by the way, with Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper. Like these aren't like household names per se that other guys are having success with. And Lou Anarumo for the past half decade or so has been vaunted as like this defensive savant. Like he should be able to get a lot more out of this group than what he's getting.
Oh yeah. I've seen Mike Zimmer get some stuff out of some pretty no-name defenses for the Bengals before. So Luke can do something. I'm not asking for him to be top 10, but they look like the worst defense in the NFL right now.
Sure.
And then the 188 says, Ace, no, you didn't believe at the start.
Now, if you're saying preseason and all of that, no, I did not believe in the Steelers. You're right. But very early on in this show, like week 1, week 2, I was like, the Steelers are real. And I think that they have figured out the quarterback situation. That's the only thing that they needed to figure out. And I said that them getting that early lead that they had would be something crucial. And I think that they've added on to that. So you will not hear me after. I even changed my tune on Russ because I was like, I wanted Russ to play. Then when I saw Russ play and I saw Justin Fields, I'm like, all right, yeah, we're in trouble because this team has a quarterback now.
Okay, let's move on to the Ravens.
I had a great time watching the game.
Oh, F my life. I was. You know what? There was a point in this game that I became numb. After the first missed field goals and the extra point that we missed, when Justin goes back to attempt it, I'm like, he's gonna miss it.
I hate to interrupt real quick, but did you see the stat that the Ravens have lost by a combined 22 points? And
yeah, I saw that shit too. I saw that
22 points worth of kicks this year. I thought that was pretty great.
I love Justin Tucker. I would have been okay if they cut him on the spot. That's true. I look. Somebody put it out there, like the quote that you either die a hero, live long enough to become the villain. He's been 2012, 12 great years. This year 13 ain't it, right? He's, I think, statistically the worst kicker in the NFL. That's crazy, from the best to the worst. And it's rough because this game, it should have been 14-13 going on the half, right? If he makes the extra point. Ravens losing by 1. Okay. Then second half starts. We drive, 44-yard field goal, miss. Then we drive again. I think it was a 47-yard kick, miss. So instead of you being 19-14, you're still 14-13, right? And eventually, Saquon Barkley breaks one and score a touchdown. People are like, "Oh, the defense played great. They bottle up Saquon for 90% of the game, right?" And then Saquon broke one. He had the touchdown. Philadelphia had two touchdown drives. No, 3 touchdown drives. 2 of them were when they got it on their side of the 50. Like it was a short field. The other one was a long drive. So I thought, look, one thing I will say is this defense definitely looks like they had turned the page. They don't look like the pushover defense that they look like earlier. I said how when they changed to man defense, they look way better. They have not that they don't get any yards, not that they're top of the league, but definitely they don't look like bottom of the league, right? They have looked better. Offensively, look, the Eagles definitely, and this is apologies to the Steelers, apologies to the Broncos, and who else? The Chiefs. This the Eagles for us definitely was the best D line they have played against our O line, especially in inside. The Georgia boys were eating our guards up, like eating them, no question. On the run game and the pass game didn't matter. Those boys were eating our guards. Falele was terrible, and Makari was terrible. Um, Other than that, I mean, Lamar didn't have a whole lot of time. He had a decent game, not great, but again, you left a touchdown in points in the case of Justin Tucker. As the season goes, what are you gonna do with him?
You gotta ride
You
it out. Gotta wait for him to get right. He'll be all right. He'll be all right.
well, you're not gonna cut him. I mean, I said I would have had a problem if they cut him at that moment, but no. John Harbaugh already said he's our guy moving forward.
Yep.
Next year,
Great
definitely.
call. Great call, John. I love it. Great call all
Yeah.
around, John.
But the question here is, in a situation similar to that game, and now you're in a 4 down territory, anything shorter than 4 and 5, do you say, well, our confidence in Tucker is not there? We just gotta go for it because okay, if you don't make it, whatever, Tucker ain't gonna make the field goal, right? Or do you punt it, right? That's the problem that you have. And as the Ravens, you think you are a potential Super Bowl caliber team, you can't be with a kicker like this. Defensively, you couldn't be with a defense like it was. I feel like defensively, how the defense is currently playing, right? Philadelphia has a good offense, and I thought they played well against that offense. Who we played the week before? We played another team that was playing good offensively. Whoever it was, even against the Steelers, they played decently on defense. Like they have been putting good defense. Oh, the Chargers. The Chargers have been putting points before the Ravens. They play good on defense. Defensively, look like they had turned the corner again. Not as a oh my god best defense in the league, but definitely as a team, a defense that you can win in the playoffs. And offensively, they have produced enough to win the playoff. But the problem is, the kicking game is crucial in the playoffs. As teams are gonna study you more, as you might be driving, but you hit the wall and you need those 3 points. Those 3 points are critical. I don't know what's wrong with Tucker. It almost feel like I don't know if you guys watch baseball, but for pitcher when they get the yips, I think is what it's called. There's nothing wrong with them. Like the arm is healthy. There's no Tommy John, nothing. No, it's all here. Almost feels like that with Tucker. Like the last one that he missed, I look at my mom. My mom is here, and I said, "This guy has missed all the kicks to the left. It's gonna be a moment that now he's gonna try to overcompensate and he will miss to the right, miss to the right, he missed to the right. So now he's in his head, like it's completely in his head. The rest of the schedule for the Ravens is not like it's super hard, right? We had 2-2. We have the Giants, right? Giants they look LOL. Then we had the Steelers, good game. Then we had the Texans, which I don't know. I don't know what to think about the Texans right now. The Texans look like a bad good team. And we finished with the Browns that I don't know that game might mean anything, right? Might mean we make if it is not to make the playoff, I can see the Ravens saying we're gonna take that one as a bye, right? Like I can definitely see that last week if we lock the playoff spot, we'd be like, okay, take it as a bye, don't worry about it. So like if they win the next 2 games, I can see them doing that. So there's some things like the fact that the offense has been playing good. Mark Andrews also. Remember how we were like, oh, Mark Andrews, what is up with him? He's cooked. Nope, he looks good now. He played good again. He's playing good again. It looks like he's back from the injury, right? Last year, late injury on the drop hip, broken ankle. Took a while. This season, he started slow. He looks to be back. But again, what do you do with Tucker? I have no idea. Like, I think what you do is if you're less than 4 and 5, you go for it. I think unless it's a 35 yards or less, you try to kick it. Anything, which is crazy because at 36, 37, let's say 40 to 50 right now in the current NFL league, it's not a difficult kick for kickers. But I don't trust Tucker on that. And it is frustrating because that changed the composure of the game. Like I said, it should have been Ravens by 5, and then when they score the touchdown, Ravens down by 2, and then you drive again, and then you're like, okay, if you have the old Tucker, you feel comfortable. If you're losing by 2, then you can win by 1. But not right now. I don't know what to say. Again, offensive line definitely had one of the worst games. That D line ball out. Receivers were getting open. I had no problems. I mean, they had good corners and all that, but there was pass to be had there. But the O-line had no push. So Henry was getting tackled sometimes behind the line of scrimmage. And again, Tucker. I don't know. That's definitely it. I don't know. What do you guys thought of the game?
It was billed as like gonna be like this massive like matchup between Henry and Barkley, and like Henry was fine and Saquon was fine until the last drive when he finally like had a few runs come open, but for the most part, like
the running backs didn't play a factor in this game until that one drive for Barkley.
Yeah, like the entire time I'm watching this, I was like, okay, I'm kind of bored. Like I thought it was going to be a lot more exciting than what it was.
I love that type of game, by the way. But
I don't. It's fine, but like I'm not going to not watch it. But just like, all right, let's at least see something here. I think it's just because, again, like as a Steelers fan, I've seen just a trillion of those over the past like 2 or 3 years, so I'm just kind of over it. But yeah, I thought that both defenses held up. It essentially became like, okay, which defense is going to get the most tired quicker? And it was Baltimore. It just became a war of attrition. And they just eventually, the Eagles' offensive line was able to open up more holes for Saquon. And, he put together a really nice last drive that kind of sealed the deal. Because the Ravens, they had some sort of turnover before Saquon scored, didn't they? Or did they? Am I making that up in my head?
They had a turnover on downs.
Maybe
they only had turnover on downs. There was no fumble.
Yeah, they didn't have fumbles or anything.
There were 5 fumbles in this game. 5, all recovered by the set team that fumbled. Okay. I think we fumbled 3 times. The Eagles fumbled twice.
So Jalen Hurts I think only went like 11 of 18. Like they didn't throw the ball hardly at all. I mean Saquon's having a great year. He's probably going to be Offensive Player of the Year.
MVP?
No, he's not the MVP. Stop that. Enough of that. None of that. A running back is not going to win MVP unless they do something like mind-boggling historic. And
I break the record.
Even that, like I think that old boy up in Buffalo is kind of a lock for it at the moment. Just because, like, not to get like an MVP conversation, but it just drives me crazy. Like when it's most valuable, right? There's a lot of emphasis on the value. The Eagles were just in a Super Bowl like 20 months ago with Miles Sanders in the backfield doing the very similar things to what Saquon's doing. Again, nothing to take away from Saquon, but like we've seen several running backs. DeAndre Swift had awesome success with the Eagles. Like, it's a position that is largely interchangeable, but quarterback MVP is a quarterback award as it should be. So I just think that any sort of he's not going to win MVP. Offensive Player of the Year, yes, but MVP, no.
For sure, Offensive Player of the Year. He is, Saquon is crazy in that offense.
They're doing awesome stuff, and the run game is very hard to stop. So I think that with Philadelphia, I've been kind of waiting for that Jenga piece to get pulled and have the tower come crumbling down. But they won 8 in a row. They're doing really good stuff. It seems that Vic Fangio, we talked about Fangio a little bit earlier, he's having that defense play like one of the best in football right now. He's getting a lot out of these young guys. I think that the completeness of the team has really come together. So good for them. I don't foresee any sort of late season collapse like we saw last year. I think that this offense is just too good right now, and defensively they're playing really good and getting a lot out of their role players. So I do have a hard time seeing it being any other 4 teams on like Championship Sunday other than like I feel like we could just have the Lions and Eagles play each other for the NFC title game tomorrow and just let them rest until February. And right now, I think that Kansas City and Buffalo are the 2 best teams in the AFC, and I'd be shocked if it's any other 2 teams besides them, depending on how like seeding and stuff goes. We'll see if that ends up being the case, but the NFC feels okay. Philadelphia and Detroit, maybe Green Bay. Green Bay was my preseason pick, so I don't want to stray too far away from that, but. Yeah, we're starting to see the good teams really separate from the mediocre ones and the great teams separate from the good ones. So it's that time of year.
Ace.
Yeah, man. I think with this one, Coop Clamps, I talked about him before the game, man. Coop Clamps is doing his thing. Only allowed 5%
at the end of the game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He had a big tackle on Derrick Henry. 5 of 8 on targets for 40 yards, no touchdowns given up. Coop Clamps, what he's doing over there, him and Quinyon are very impressive. I think Jared kind of mentioned that, what they're doing with the younger guys over there. I even thought, like, I know I kind of mentioned, like, they don't really have a weakness on defense. I think Q brought up the linebackers, and I'm like, Zach Bond is balling right now. Like, Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean are doing their thing. And this one I also kind of mentioned, this being a team that I think could match up well with them, even with Devonta Smith being out. They were able to do that. A.J. Brown didn't go off, but he had some really key plays on the drive that led to them scoring. Saquon, we kind of talked about this one. Even though it wasn't about the running backs, Saquon did kind of cap off the end of the game because we kind of said both of these teams are really good run defenses. So which one is going to be able to kind of tone down the other running back? It really kind of seemed like the Eagles did a better job. I know Derrick Henry had the big run, but before that, they did a pretty good job of containing him. Saquon I felt like the Ravens did the same with Saquon until that drive where he was able to break away for that touchdown. And that's kind of what happened a little bit to the Bengals in their game. They were doing pretty good against Saquon. Then he just ends up breaking away in the second half. Saquon on that team is insane this year. When it comes to the Ravens defense, I know that I was questioning them coming into this one. I don't think that they did bad. I think, them being able to hold an Eagles team under 30, I think was a decent showing. I'm still not convinced on them as it stands right now. For this one, if you actually watch the game, it wasn't as close as the score dictates because I feel like the last score was a little bit of a garbage time touchdown. Eagles seem to kind of be in control. When we talk about Tucker, he's not that guy anymore. You cannot depend on him. He's in the same boat as I think Evan McPherson for me. Like whenever he's going out there, I just don't assume that it's going to be a make. And that's something big for this team. However, I think that they can overcome it. Like I don't think it's a death sentence for this team because now that they have the new coordinator there, that offense is more explosive in Baltimore and they have more options versus when they were just heavily relying on the Roman running offense and then having to take Justin Tucker, kick these 50 and 60-yard field goals, having that in their pocket. I don't think that they need to depend on that anymore. And I don't think that you can at this point. I don't think it's going to make or break their offense. I think now they have so many more weapons and so much stuff that they do stylistically that they can do it. But it's going to have to be Harbaugh and them having a heart-to-heart moment saying, all right, this isn't Justin Tucker anymore. This is just a guy in a number 9 jersey. And we have to be more aggressive with taking those chances on 4th down when we get into the red zone or going for it instead of trusting his leg. Because right now it's just been to your detriment at this point. I mean, this guy's missing extra points, and that's just crazy itself when it comes to that. I don't think it's a bad loss for Baltimore. The Eagles are a good team. I had the Eagles winning this game. I think that it was competitive. But I think once the Eagles kind of got in control of this game, it's kind of like they got a vice grip on this game and they weren't giving it up. So, not a bad loss to Baltimore. This is a good Eagles team. They're 10-2. I think this the first loss to the NFC for Lamar?
Second
loss to the NFC.
Yeah,
this is a good NFC team. I think that for Baltimore, You just have to make sure that you finish this season out pretty well. I think that they'll be fine. You get the Giants, that's a layup. That's a get right game for them. They'll probably kill them in that one, the next game. I just look at kind of that Steelers game is one where I don't know, like, you know, who wins that one right now. I think that they handle business against the Texans and the Browns, but seeing them at 8-5 is somewhat head scratching because I'm like, this Baltimore team just looked like a team that wasn't going to drop many, and this was one of the ones that I wanted to see. Like, all right, if Baltimore were to drop a game, I think that it would be against the Eagles. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out, but even in this effort, even though I don't feel like it was as close as the score indicates, I don't think that it's like a disaster loss for them, right? Like, I think they may have needed a loss like this just to kind of get ready for that playoff push because these are the kind of teams that you're going to see in the playoffs once you guys get there. I think that they're fine. I think running the offense through Derrick Henry has worked for them. I don't think that they need to change anything up there. They just have to, I think, figure out what this team did against them and try to move forward and get right. But like I said, I think next game they're dropping 40 on the Giants' heads. The Giants are dead. Danny DeVito is going to get cooked the next game. So I don't think you have any worries there.
Just say Danny DeVito.
Yeah, Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito. That's what I call him. He's going to get cooked in this one. But, you know, not like a oh my God, are we contenders game? I don't think so. It's just the Eagles are a good team. They're a good team. You got to regroup and figure out that if you have aspirations of going to the Super Bowl and you see this team again, you've got to figure it out against them. But no, I think that this is a good win for the Eagles to legitimize them because the Ravens are a good team. So to see them come in on the road and be able to do that, I think like Jared is saying now, all right, we know who the good teams in the NFC are. It's Lions, Eagles. Let's line it up. It doesn't look like anybody else over on that side is going to be a threat. So I think for the Eagles, if you're an Eagles fan, this is a quality win to get over a Ravens team. I don't know do they play the Steelers this year? Did the Eagles play you guys already, or do they play you guys?
Yeah, they'll play them. What is it? 2 weeks?
No, it's before the Ravens, right? I think it's before the Ravens. So not this week, next week. When we play the Giants, we play
they beat the Ravens now. They beat the Bengals. Did they play the Browns? Yeah,
I think they beat them by 4 because Sirianni was like celebrating like he won the Super Bowl after beating Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't feel like many NFC teams can really come through and play with the North. Many teams really, and they've shown that they've been able to go in on some of these games. But we'll see. We'll see in that Steelers game. That's going to be an interesting one. We'll see how that one goes. But I think if you're an Eagles fan, this is kind of the standard in Philadelphia. They're probably not even excited about this win because they're just used to the success that they have over there. So this looks like a team that's trying to get back to the Super Bowl.
Okay, we have a super chat here says, Sonny, you cannot cut Tucker. Gotta write it out. I mean, they are gonna write it out. I cannot cut him. You're right. I have no power on this shit. But I will be. At least I will be a kicker. You know what I will do? If I was them, practice squad kicker. Bring him here.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, just even if you want to sit Tucker for like a week or two and have him get it figured out, just bring in somebody else for a little bit and be like, okay, obviously you're still part of the team and everything, but just take a couple games, get the shit figured out, and then, you know.
I mean, Jared, don't you think that the Justin Tucker era is over after this season? It has to be, right?
I mean, I would assume so, just because you can find kickers like you can find things that are easy to find. I didn't have a good analogy there, but yeah, like it's like there's a guy, Matthew Wright, who is in the Steelers program during every OTA, every training camp, every preseason, ends up on like 2 or 3 teams throughout the season, always goes like 6 of 6, finds his way back to Pittsburgh for the offseason and starts the cycle all over. Sign a guy like that. Like, there are plenty of guys like that you can go and find. Like, it doesn't, just because you're not going to have a superstar kicker anymore, as long as you have a solid, like, even if it's a middle of the pack kicker, okay, that's fine. Like, you don't need, obviously it's nice to have like, a top 3 kicker in football, but as long as he's not a basement dweller who you can't depend on, then you're fine.
And that's what he is currently.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that, we'll leave it there. Tomorrow we'll be back. We only have 2 games in the schedule because we have the Browns, Steelers, Ravens are on a bye, and then the Bengals are playing. Who are you guys playing, Ace?
It doesn't matter at this point.
Mhm.
They're playing the Cowboys, man, and Cooper
The
Rush.
boys.
It's gonna be the Monday Night Simpsons game. That's gonna be so annoying.
Take the
bro.
over on Cooper Rush, bro. Take the over on Cooper Rush passing yards.
They're gonna
Yeah.
get ready for that one.
I mean, these are probably 3 winnable games that they can have, but at this point, I don't. I want that draft pick, bro. It's mock draft season over here for sure in full effect. So yeah, we'll see. That's gonna be a Monday night game. That is gonna be atrocious. I don't think anybody's gonna want to watch. I mean, it's gonna be cool because Burrow and Chase are playing, so it'll be exciting from our standpoint. But yeah, this game means nothing. These are 2 teams that have definitely crashed and burned from the expectations that they had coming into the season.
Yeah, I'll bet Burrow and Chase props and bet the under on Chase Brown rushing yards for the game. That'll be my reason to watch it.
Okay, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Till then, peace out.